Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Welcome. It is Monday night. It is the first of the month. So, as you can tell, we are missing the illustrious Mr. John Young. But instead, we've got Zach Lee, Mr. DJ Wow, going to be joining us. And of course, Cubbie's here with me as well. Listen, guys, I want to just say first off that this is just going to be a horrible show. That's just all there is to it. Like, those of you out in YouTube land, I'm sorry. It's just going to be horrible. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. First off, if you are watching this on Facebook or anything else, I have no way to see those comments. Like, John is really cool. He's got all the gadgets and gadgets. He can see that stuff. I can't. So if you are wanting to watch what's going on, head over to our YouTube page at Disc Jockey News, and you can check that and drop your comments in there, because tonight I think is going to be interesting. I did say I was going to be a crap show, and I was kidding. It's going to be interesting because we are going to be talking about non-wedding stuff. A lot of times our talks, on Monday night revolve around weddings because that's what a lot of us do. But instead, tonight we're going to talk non-weddings. And so hence why we have DJ Wild joining us, and Cubbie's got some insight into this. So first off, though, guys, how are you doing?
Feeling great.
Good. Very good.
Good. Zach, seriously, you just had to send out another self post on Snapchat about tonight?
I mean, why not?
Yeah, sure.
Is it gonna hurt?
No, it's just because you are Mr. Self Promotion, and that is something we are definitely going to get into a little bit here in what we have now. The idea behind it tonight is really, we're going to start with the idea of basically we're mobile guys. Now, I know, Zach, you tend to do a lot more on the bar and club side, and we'll talk about kind of that and how that's developed. But as we're talking about this tonight, I want everybody who's watching, to kind of think about it in that frame of mind. Think about it from the standpoint, we're not saying, okay, you're no longer a mobile DJ, you're just going to go do this, right? But maybe how can you keep whatever you have going and add in? Because, right, with that weekday money for some of us is going to be that bread and butter, or those off night money is going to be some extra spending cash that will definitely help pad that pocket when you need it. So the first question I have for both of you is, how did you get started? Like this was like, we know some of your sides, but how did you get started with that non-wedding side? So Cubbie, you're doing bar trivia.
I'm doing bar trivia and bingo, which is what we do for weekly events, and then it just leads into a lot of other things.
Okay, so at what point and then we'll come over to Zach on his side. At what point did you say, you know what, I like that idea, let's get into it? What was kind of that catapulting factor, if you will?
It was, I kid you not, it was literally 15, 16 years ago that a bar reached out to me and said, hey, let's do trivia. Like, everybody's doing karaoke. Let's do something different. Let's do trivia, because it was just starting to come out and trend. And so we came up and we did on Monday nights at a place called Champs. It was a franchise, it's a sports bar franchise. I don't know if there still exists any longer, but the one we had in Des Moines closed. It was at a mall. And it's just literally started from there. I was too late in the game to do the karaoke thing, to get a legal library. It was already kind of all over Des Moines area. Karaoke was huge. So I was like, ugh. And so this guy's like, just do trivia. I'm like, all right, sounds like a great idea. So we came up with a format of doing it. And that bar led into another bar, which led into another bar, which just started catapulting and just rolling. And that's how it started.
Nice. So was this bar owner a friend of yours, or bar manager? Was that a friend of yours? Because I can't imagine somebody just reaching out to somebody who never, I get, the second or third place jumping on board, but that first place, you weren't known as the trivia guy.
No, we actually were there on a New Year's Eve party.
Okay.
And so we were there, and we were just kind of talking about what we could, what can we do to bring on during the week to do different things. And we started doing, we were talking about Family Feud, because but that's then only so many people can play, because DigiGames was around at that time, and so we were looking at different concepts but my goal was to get everybody to play. not just 3 to 4 people on a family type thing.
Mhm.
And then trivia is more kind of with the Family Feud concept, it was like percentages, and it could be skewed some way in different parts of the country, type thing. So trivia is more absolute, meaning the answer is this, type thing. So we decided to roll with trivia and came up with a format, and it's just been successful for us.
Nice. So Zach, let's jump over to your side, because actually I knew you like before you ever started the club bar scene.
Yeah.
When you were just like hanging around trying to bug everybody that was a DJ.
Heck yeah.
But what led you to kind of going, that's what I got to do? Because you were doing some other stuff kind of
Yeah.
non-bar, right? So what
So
was your path?
when I started, it was a gentleman. I was 8 years old. My neighbor at the time was getting married in their backyard. I ran into the DJ. His name was Brian Harlan. He's from my town, here in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, your town as well. And he ended up being the same DJ that did the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade dances. And me being a 4th grader, he was perfect. So I kind of like nudged my way into him and just watched what he did for a while. And then from there, I went on to helping him with every dance that he did, helping him with weddings. As I got older, it came to the point where, okay, now I can start reaching out and doing this. I don't want to just be here. I want to be here, here, and here. So from there, I started doing underage nightclubs, broke out to regular bars and nightclubs when I turned 18, was part-time on the radio, did a little bit of studio and sound production. I didn't want to be pigeonholed into one thing. I wanted to open my horizon to anything that has to do with music. I wanted to know something about, and it just kept growing, and it's still growing.
So what led to that first? I mean, you said you wanted, like, after meeting with him and hanging out and helping him and stuff. How did you jump into that first? I'm going to assume the underage thing was your first kind of, for lack of better terms, first paying gig. We'll say. I'm sure there's some other little things, but we'll say that scene. How did that first transition go for you?
It was different. You learn real quick that, because back then, I mean, we're talking 2006, 2007. Serato and virtual DJ wasn't a huge thing yet. I was still using CDs. So when I first started DJing, it was on CDs. As I grew into learning, especially when it came to club stuff, there was a local DJ, DJ Icon, who was only using vinyl turntables. That was it. There was no Serato yet. And watching him and all his videos that everybody was posting, I was like, I want to learn that. That's what I want to learn. And it wasn't easy. It sucked.
Yeah.
It was awful. It was a lot of money. It was a lot of crate digging. It was a lot of going, because around us, we don't really have any vinyl stores, not even back then. We had a place called Rock Station Records and Cassettes. And if you were lucky, you might be able to find what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But for most of the stuff, I had to go to Philadelphia or even sometimes Cherry Hill, New Jersey, just to find it. So that was tough. But like watching him and watching his crowd control and just the videos of just what he could do on vinyl and turntables and just his whole, just the way he put everything together, I was hooked. That was it. That was it for me.
Well, I will say I'm glad you did not pick up his handling of his vinyl. Skills. I love Icon dearly, but dude, like, if you're watching this video afterwards, you got to admit you went through more records than you needed to because you didn't know how to put it back in the crate. Just gonna put it that way. So all right, so at this point, like, both of you got your start, and it's, it's nice. Like, you were able to kind of get that ball rolling and stuff like that. how did you, and we'll start with you, Zach, on this one. How
Okay.
how do you start to find your openings, right? So you have that first place that you're playing at. You're playing at now. You're old enough to be able to play anywhere.
Mhm.
What has led, or what process do you go through? Let me ask it that way. What process do you go through to find place to play?
Okay. Well, kind of like what Cubbie was saying. It really, he said he got started with the trivia thing just at a New Year's Eve party and just talking. Word of mouth travels. It's the best promotion is word of mouth, in my opinion. I mean, yes, you can do the social media and the Snapchat and stuff like you have mentioned that I do a lot, but I find that just talking to people, asking. I mean, the worst thing a club owner, a bar owner, or anyone can tell you if you ask is no. You're not going to lose anything because you don't have that gig yet. But if you don't ask, you could lose. So what I do is I have no problem reaching out to, bar after bar after bar, message after message, email after email.
Mhm.
It might take 3-4 weeks for them to get back to me. You send another one. You got to stay persistent in that. And that's what I do.
So you basically cold call type of, I mean, you have some networking that you've done. I know
Yeah.
that, but,
Yeah.
but beyond that, it's not, you're not going through an agent or anything like that, right? Okay.
Everything's me. Yep.
Okay. And I know that, and I will say this, like, and when we've had MJ on the past and he's talked about the agent path, and not that it's necessarily something that he does, but he has utilized that some, that, depending upon your area, depending upon the way things are set up, that might need to be something that you decide to go down if you wanted to go into the bar / club scene that like Wild's got going on. So Cubbie, how about you? So you have your one, they've reached out. Do you go searching, or do you let them come to you?
After this many years, I'm lucky enough that I don't go out searching enough. I should, maybe, I don't know. I got to make sure I have people trained up, and I'm not, Zach's fortunate that he just has himself, and I don't know if he has a stable of DJs or not. I've got to make sure that I've got hosts that are able to have the nights off to do it. I like to keep the same host in the same bar every single week, so it builds a consistency. And a lot of times I used to go out to bars when I first started out, and then, as as Zach knows, it's a partnership, right? We're gonna promote this together. We're gonna make sure the night's gonna be huge. But if that bar doesn't do their job, it's hard for me to do my job. Yes, I do have social media, and yes, we promote it all the time. But my teams the teams that I currently have go to the bars that they go to and like regularly. So if we're opening a new bar, that new bar has got to be the one to promote it. They put it in the bathrooms because they've got the customers there already. They got built-in clientele. So for me, I tell them to go to different beer distributors. They'll make posters for you. Make it a Coors Light night. Make it a Bud Light night. Make it whatever. But talk to the beer distributor. See if they'll donate prizes for for me. And me and Zach's a little bit different because he's playing music. I'm hosting 2 hours of trivia or musical bingo. So a little bit of different format of marketing, but I tell them to go, to the beer distributors, get the posters, and put them up in the bar, and together we're going to promote this night, and together we can make it successful. Well, then I'd get a couple of bars that just wouldn't do nothing. I'm like, well, wait, nobody come in. Well, I'm doing my part, but just because my people don't come to your bar, you got to also have a good special too, and especially with trivia. If you want somebody to come out on a Tuesday night, you can't have $20 pizzas. You've got to have, like a $6 one topping, or a, Taco Tuesday, or, whatever. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that midweek money, they've got to have good specials as well, because they're looking for good money and making money. So I've made a lot of mistakes in doing this over the lot of years I've been doing it. So like I said, I kind of wait for them to come to me. They've been to one of our shows, and I'm like, okay, let me talk to one of my hosts, see what nights we have available, and then I'll get back to you. And we'll work out nights, and we usually start 2 weeks or 3 weeks after we sign the agreement. So that we can get enough social media push behind it for 2-3 weeks, get some time to get the posters made, printed, and put up in the bar, in the bathrooms and things. But I guess didn't really answer your question. No, I don't actively seek, but I'll take anything that calls me.
Okay. So let's also put it in perspective, because you did mention about, like, so you have a team of yours. How many hosts do you have out? Let's just start with that. Just not how many nights are they doing, but just how many hosts do you have
8.
doing the bar trivia?
8.
8. Okay. And how many total, we'll say, bar trivia nights is your company hosting?
14 currently.
14. Okay, so you've got a couple that are doubling up, maybe even
Yeah.
maybe triple up in that aspect. But okay, so there's, I mean, that's quite a few. That's definitely getting your name out and working it from that side for sure.
And there's other people within my market that are doing trivia too, and musical bingo. So like I said,
Okay.
yeah. And I've got my trivia and I got my bingo host. There's two different birds. I mean, yeah, trivia is a lot more hosting, so you gotta have a really good personality. Musical bingo, they're not talking as much, so you don't have to have such a great personality. Because you're basically playing 20-30 seconds of a song. It's on the bingo card, they mark it off, and when somebody yells bingo. So they got to be able to explain the game very well and be able to run the program, and that's it for bingo. So those are minimal hosting jobs, but trivia, you gotta have a great personality. And for me, it's a breeding ground for wedding DJs because it gets them comfortable on the mic. It gets them, they're not spinning music at all, but that's where the training comes in that we take them on once they decide they want to become a wedding DJ. But for mic, oh my gosh, for mic work, trivia is the best because people are going to heckle you. You might mispronunciate something. And it just gets you comfortable, like, in front of a mic, in front of people. And that's,
if you can't be heckled at, like you got no job being anywhere. So.
yeah, you got to be able to take it. It's a lot of fun to give it back.
So that brings up a good point. That was a point that I had for later, but as always,
I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah.
it's okay. It's okay. It's better that you bring it up now. So we're right here. It's a good segue. So how have you noticed, right? You mentioned kind of a different story, actually, I think, than where I'm going. You mentioned that this is a good breeding ground for training to get your bar guys up to being wedding performers. Have you noticed any type of reciprocation as far as the bar events turning into wedding events, or into maybe downgrade that a little bit, just events in general outside of the bars?
Oh my God, yes. Again, for being this for as many years as we've been doing trivia, 15 to 16 years, they come, they see you, they see your personality, they see the DJ's personality. They want to have them at their wedding, and then corporate events. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you the number of corporate events so people, mostly trivia people are single 20 somethings. Sometimes you get your married people, but they're single 20 somethings looking for something to do on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night, whatever. And so if they like your personality, or whatever, when they think about a holiday party, like trivia, oh my God, we can do trivia at our holiday party. And then that's how you get all the events. And once you get them once, it's hard to lose them, because as long as you keep several different games or different aspects, 1 year we'll do trivia, 1 year we'll do bingo, 1 year we'll do family. There's like I said, because you can't do the same thing every Christmas holiday party. So that's where having different things to offer keeps you forever.
Nice. So that brings up, kind of, so Zach, how is that done for you? So you've been doing the club scene and the bar scene. Have you noticed a transition from those events to other events?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think once you're in the bar and you're in the nightclub or wherever you're at, if you can keep the crowd rocking and they're happy with you, that's the first thing they're going to think about. Well, we want to party. We want to dance at our wedding. We want everyone to have fun. We know we had fun, at so-and-so, and he was the DJ. So let's call him. And that's, I mean, absolutely. I've booked a lot of, probably hundreds of gigs from bar and club gigs that were either, corporate events like Cubbie was saying, or weddings, or graduation parties. That's a big one. Graduation parties, whether it be college or high school. I mean, mom and dad are paying the bill. They want to have fun too. So they're the ones that are going to hire you. So.
And I think it's interesting to note. So I don't know, 5-10 years ago, there was kind of a shift, right? At least around us, I felt like, where they didn't want that bar club DJ, right? They didn't want to have that as part of their wedding. They wanted it different. And now, as it's transitioned, and I don't necessarily know what's caused this, other than maybe just the pendulum swinging back the other direction. I've gotten more weddings talking about wanting that club atmosphere, wanting that bar atmosphere for their wedding, for their dance floor. And so I would assume that, Zach, maybe you're even seeing some more, maybe an upswing in some of those immediate kind of connections from those to those non-bar events.
Yeah, and especially, post-pandemic, everybody was locked in. A lot of weddings got postponed or even canceled. So, they want their guests to go have fun, especially right now that we're allowed to do that again. So I think that, and then they think about where they saw you first and they wanted that atmosphere back. And if they can give that to their guests and their family members, then, I mean, that's what they're going to want. I mean, that's my opinion on it, especially for the past year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, I'm with Zach. I think a lot of it has to do with TikTok.
Oh.
And those rock stars like Eric Rhodes and Nick Spinelli are putting their social media. So when they find a guy like DJ Zach who can do the wordplay, do the wordplay mixes, and they see him locally, but yet they've seen this TikTok that got shared millions of times, like Eric Rhodes and some of the guys that we know within the industry that have major TikTok platforms. And then they can see that locally with Zach and everybody, that then ties in, goes, I want him for my wedding.
That's another
that's a good point, because I think in some aspects people didn't necessarily think of that at weddings, right? That
Yep.
Sometimes when you talk to a non-industry person about a wedding DJ and they get this stigma, stereotype that's in their head, and now thanks to social media, there's been some popularity thrown out of this non-stereotypical type of view on it, and so that's making a huge difference. So good point, good thought.
That was a very good point.
Yeah, I think, taking the celebration and the love shacks and all that stuff out of it. And like I said, with the people doing the cooler mixes, wordplay mixes, and just pulling stuff like he's like, oh shit, where'd that come from? Just pulling songs out like that you just haven't heard in a long time, but just matched. Mm-hmm. And then when they see that locally, I think it makes it pretty huge.
Absolutely. So at what point do you start? Because both of you have your regular places that you're playing. And Cubbie, you kind of mentioned this, so maybe this won't 100% fall into that. But at what point do you start looking for a new venue? Do you ever feel like, okay, where I'm playing, I'm going to cut the tie before they cut the tie? So Zach, do you ever kind of feel that at some of the places? And again, maybe looking at the stuff that's been in the past, places that you used to play and you don't play anymore, or if you do, it's definitely not as frequent.
I mean, absolutely. There's definitely times in like Cubbie touched on with the promotion stuff. It's a 50-50 slide. The bar, the club, they have to help. They can't, especially if it's a new place, they can't just expect the DJ is going to bring 300 people to their bar on a whim. It's just it's unlogical in my opinion. So I think when you don't have that and you don't have that partnership with the owner or the management, I think that that definitely draws you a little away from wanting to do it. And if you're not going to invest like everything you have in it, especially like mentally when you're playing, because because they're not doing their job, so you're not going to have the best show that you could put on. And that's obviously eventually going to take a toll and pull you away from that venue and maybe look for something else.
But you, Cubbie, and at what point do you say, we need to end this? I mean, it's probably a little different because you did mention contract too, or agreement.
Yeah. Well, with the very first agreement is for 6 months, and then the rest of it is basically on a handshake. Because I know if I can keep him for 6 months, I'm keeping him for a year. And then again, I'm not going to do anything if the contract breaks. I'm not going to, because I don't have a bad, it just didn't work out. So we basically shake hands and go, hey, look, we'll try something different. But I think with trivia, there's a couple locations I've seen the writing on the wall. Look, we were in a college town. They weren't paying their food people. They weren't paying they were buying their food from Sam's. So, the market, they just weren't paying their distributors. And I just knew this bar was not long for being around. And so I had an opportunity to move that night to another location. And I did it, but once again, like you said before, you saw the writing on the wall. You're like, man, I can't see this going any much further. You're losing money. I got an opportunity over here. I mean, I'm sorry it didn't work out type thing.
And that's another thing with bar gigs, right? Cubbie is, when the crowd's not there, then they try to negotiate the price sometimes, especially if you don't have that in writing. You know what I mean? So I think that's something. I mean, obviously, once or twice you're going to be, because not everyone. You're not going to have a full bar You're not going to have 1 million people in an establishment every time you play. So obviously, there's going to be slow nights, especially if it's during the week, like you're doing. You know what I mean? So it's not always going to be a packed house. So let's give or take on both ends.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, if it's slammed. I've had bar owners, throw a couple extra bucks to it, like, yo, we had a great night. I think that's the relationships you want and you want to keep. If you can find that happy medium between, slow nights, all right, you can cut me $50. Pack nights, all right, throw me another 50 on top of what we agreed to. I think that's what you want, right? That's what we all want. We all want to make more money.
So I've never done the club thing, Zach. Do you play like a certain club? Like you sign a contract for a month? Do you sign it for like first Friday of every month and sign for 12 months? How does that work generally on a club? Because I know what I do for trivia.
So what I do around here, and I used to do a lot more stuff that was a little different, but in the past like 7 or 8 years, I've been just local to where I'm at now here in Pennsylvania. And it's a small area. We all know each other. We all, so it's pretty much just a handshake and all right, this is what we're going to do. Now in the past, I did a couple things in Philly and in Jersey, and that was 6 months to a year, kind of like what you're doing.
Right.
That was, that's a haul for us. That's like 3 hours from us. So, it was, that's why we needed the contract, but something that's local and we all know each other. It's more of a handshake and just, and I've been burnt by that numerous times. It happens as part of the business.
Yeah.
So let me ask this with regard to that, Zach. So because you do tend to hop between your different places, like there's a couple of places that I see your promotions come in. Okay, I would say almost every Saturday it feels like you are at one particular place, but give or take, how far in advance do you have those nights when you're plan to be there? And typically how far in advance are you set up?
It's I think it all depends on the time of year. Summertime with college being out, especially locally, it's a little more tougher, so it might be a week or two. Fall and winter, I usually know a good 3 or 4 weeks ahead of time where I'm going to be. I just wait for the right time to blast it out. And that's another thing. When it comes to self-promotion, I think that's what you're gonna bring that up later. So I won't get into that right now. But
well, let's go ahead and go down that path. So, you both have mentioned that you're doing your side, the bar's doing their side. So, in Cubbie, you referenced
sometimes
the sign. Well, okay, the bar's supposed to be doing their side, right? So you mentioned, Cubbie mentioned like the flyers in the bathrooms and different places and whatever social media push that they might be doing. What are the things that you do for your self-promotion? Like, is there a plan that you have? Like, if somebody's wanting to get into this, what should they be expecting to roll out from their own self-promotion?
You want me to go first? Or you want me to go? Yeah.
Eeny, meeny, miny. Let's go, Zach.
Okay. So I think you got to look at where you're playing. The crowd. I mean, you can kind of get. You can Google search any venue now, right? You can look at reviews. You can kind of get an idea when someone says, okay, we want you for this day, and you've never been there. Then you got to do some research. You got to know what crowd you're playing to. You're playing to the college crowd. You're going to want to, definitely do your social media, Facebook, Snapchat. If you know people, have them share it. If you're doing, something that's more of a local yokel kind of redneck or rock and roll kind of crowd, then you're going to want to go for the older people. Maybe talk to your friends' parents, your parents, whoever, and just get it out there. Rather, you got to make flyers and hand them out or do something like that. It's just knowing your crowd, and that will determine on how you're going to access the advertisement. I mean, you could always, usually the venue will do the radio in the that kind of stuff, but they don't always do that. So sometimes they use their platform. So then you got to just see what they're using. Maybe if you guys both have flyers, maybe send them your flyer so they can put your flyer out. And if they do the same to you, then you do the same for them.
Robbie, how about you? What are some of the things that you've done or your company has done for promotion?
So I would suggest if you're getting into it now and you're thinking about maybe doing weekly trivia and or bingo, start a separate Instagram page and or Facebook page from your DJ company's Facebook page. Meaning if you're going to continue to do weddings, let that Facebook page continue to do weddings / events, and your trivia video company, same company, right? But it might be like ABC Trivia and then ABC Weddings. But have two separate social media platforms. One so that so when your brides are looking for you, they're not like, oh, all he does is trivia, or so vice versa. So you want to have two different platforms, and then and of course posting 1 to 3 days for me, and then where you're at for the following week, maybe something, a trivia funny joke or something, funny memes. For me, would be bingo and trivia, and this is where we're going to be at, and these are Saturday times, and of course, starting new location here, make sure that keeps going every 3 days, promote things at new locations. Like I said, all the locations that we've been at for years, so we don't really have to advertise as much. But anybody just starting out, my biggest thing would be like, you have your social media for your trivia and your bingo, and then you got your wedding social media page, and make sure they're two separate ones.
I think that's key, because I mean, you mentioned that, and it brought me back to something where there was a DJ that had reached out to me about something, and I forget what it was, and I looked him up, and only thing that I saw was the redneck bar scene, and that was it. And what they were talking to me about was something very upscale and high class, and I'm like, that is not the message. And I could not find anything else on this person other than this redneck bar scene. So I was like, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but that's not the message I'm getting from you. So definitely it's going to be a bit different in that aspect. So what is and let me back up for 1 second. So Zach was talking about the posters and the flyers and that kind of thing, and whether it's a social media flyer or whether it's a legit physical flyer that you're having hung up somewhere. I know MJ talked about this before. A lot of times he will make his own graphics that he then shares with the places he's playing, and then they use that. Now, since he's been doing the casino thing, that's, I think, been different because they have different stipulation. But when he was playing in a lot of the bars, he would have a flyer, and it was something very classy and something that was done well. And then that was something they shared out. And so I think that would be definitely something, if you don't have to be very versed in it. There are apps that will help you like crazy with that kind of stuff. But utilizing something like that, and if nothing else, helping that bar out a little bit with that promotion, right? Especially if your name's in there, if your company's in there somehow, somewhere, if you can make it easier for them, then they're going to use the good one that you want to have, right? So make sure you take advantage of that. So some of the social media aspects, or even some of the this publicity graphics, I think, can go a long way with that. What is the longest? So Cubbie, you talked about you've been in a certain couple places for a few years. What's the place? Not the name of the place, but the amount of time. What's the longest you've been in one location for bar trivia? I'm curious.
Oh shit! I'll
Somebody
tell
in
you.
your company.
It's me, Fireside Girl. Been there, Altoona, Iowa. Been there 14 years.
Weekly.
Yes, every Wednesday
Wow.
night, 7 to 9, 14 years.
Wow. So while we're on that, because then Zach, I'm gonna ask you kind of the same thing. So much time in that same place. How do you keep your show fresh? Like, how do you keep this trivia fresh? Because sometimes you can recycle stuff and you kind of take a little bit of this, a little bit. 14 years, you're not really able to hide a whole lot.
Well, I think it's just like personality. I hate to say it, and I'm not saying, oh, look at me. It's roasting people. Anybody, I tell all my hosts, anybody can go in there and read questions, but you've got to be a personality. You've got to have a little fun with it. You can't be like a Netflix comedy special. But if there's a funny answer, and always just being, I don't know, being entertaining, just hosting and using your personality. And you're right. There's trivia nerds. Like I said, Larry been there for 13, 14 years. And it's just, same every Wednesday night. It's family. You know how many times I've seen people, their kids are like 9 years old now. Like I did their wedding, and it's crazy. It's crazy. But you got to be entertaining. The product is, so no matter if even it's karaoke, I'm sure there's karaoke hosts that have been in bars for 13 years. They still singing the same songs, But the thing is being that entertaining host, being that entertaining karaoke host, and being genuine to your teams. Like I said, it's literally like family in there. And it's there's times like, man, it's Wednesday night, I do not want to go. It's snowing. It's this, I don't feel good. You get there and you see your family. Oh my gosh, you see all your people, and it's like, it's a great time. But I'm not gonna lie. There are a lot of times I'm like, I do not feel like being here tonight.
And you hit on something, and it made me think of something I saw online today. So Rachel Lynch had posted a photo that she took from some group somewhere, where it was a picture of a DJ setup, and on it had different prices. And if you didn't see it, you can check out her page and you'll see it. Don't do it now. We're in the show, right? But you can see what I'm talking about, right? So the key of it though was that it's not our gear, it's not our music that makes who we are. That should not be your selling point. Right. And so that personality is going to be key. So as you were talking about that instantly is what came to mind, is whether it's bars, whether it's clubs, whether it's weddings, corporate, it's going to be, the key to that is really going to be it's going to be kind of that other side, that personality that you can bring to the table. Now, with that being said, that personality might be your skills on a controller or turntables or something like that, because if prior shows MJ has brought up, where some places do not want, when you're talking about the bar or club type music playing, do not want you on the mic at all. Like that is not your job. Like that mic does not get turned on. There is no microphone for you to touch, right? That is the way that they do things. And so it becomes, there's still a presence that you have. There's still a personality that you can bring, but it's not going to be your voice that's going to make that personality shine. So, keep in mind that some events, especially more in the club aspect, might gear towards that. So keep that in mind. So, Zach, what about you? The longest place that you've ever played, and maybe it's not current, but in the span of your career.
Let me touch on what you were just talking about, though. So
sure,
with the backtrack. It's the same thing with like Slash from Guns N' Roses, right? He talks and he handles the crowd, but he does it with the guitar. So as a club DJ, you're doing the same thing, but you're doing it by your music choices, your music selection, your cutting, your scratching, your fading, your mixing, whether it's in key or by BPM or both, or however you want to do it. There's been numerous nightclubs where, it was, we don't want you to talk too much. You can do a last call and you can welcome them out. Other than that, nothing. Do everything else by what you do. And that was a really good point that you made, actually. And I wanted to touch on that real quick. Now that you made me feel old and I had to do the math on my calculator over here to figure out how long I've been at the first real bar that I started at, it's been 18 years.
Wow.
18 years. I'm not going to mention the bar, but
yeah, because if I'm doing the math, you weren't old enough to be in that bar.
I was not. But you know what? I was there, and it's 18 years. I was 16 when I did my first real bar gig. Okay. And I'm still there. So I'm not there weekly, it's every other month or every month or whatever, but I'm still there. So yeah, 18 years. Thanks. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. But you know what? I think I just figured out, just based upon what you said, I think I know the place you're at. So
well, yeah. On to the next question.
It's all good. It's all good. So since both of you we touched on bars, we touched on the clubs and stuff like that. Let's talk about corporate for a second, because we really didn't focus on that a lot. Aside from the events that you got through your current setup, right? So like, let's take out I got that corporate gig because I do bar trivia. I got that corporate gig because I do clubs and bars. Have there been corporate events that you've been able to attain and run with? And Zach, I already know the answer to this, because you do that traveling show, if nothing else. Mm-hmm. And I would consider that corporate. So what are some things that you've done to foster some of that corporate work that you do? let's start with you, Cubbie.
So Dan, a lot of mine really are coming from referrals. Like I said, say there's somebody being at a trivia event, or maybe being at their husband or spouse's holiday party, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, we had a really great time at that, so I should bring it to my company." Other than that, I would have to say search and SEO, search engine optimization, making sure that your company and is top of the Google listings, and try to be out there as much as possible with search engines. But I haven't really gone after like calling corporate or whatever. There's not any thumbtacks or anything for that type of industry. So it's all of mine have really come from referrals, all my corporate events and stuff.
And one piece, go ahead, Zach, now that you're back. So what are some things that you've done or how did you kind of fall in the lap of some of those corporate events that you've done?
I mean, just kind of what Cubbie said, word of mouth, just people who have seen you. And then, they might know somebody who's looking, for a DJ for, say, a banquet or a charity event even. I mean, charity events are a good way. I mean, I know, Dan, I know you do quite a few of them. And so do I, but that's a good way to help with that, because when they see you at a charity event, it's going to be, let's be honest, it's going to be a lot of corporate people. It's going to be a lot of, higher paid business owners, stuff like that. And they see you do a good job. Word of mouth and just referral, like Cubbie touched on.
And what we don't realize is there's always somebody watching, right? That's one of the things that I think sometimes we kind of don't realize when we're at these events that are not your typical events. So for example, the charity events and that kind of thing, they're a very different animal, where you do have to recognize that somebody's watching and somebody might come up to you, and it's important for you to treat them with that same personality that you would if it's any other type of event that's out there. But it's going to potentially lead. It definitely can lead to something. I know for me personally, one kind of fell in my lap. It really did. I do something for one of the local hospital groups. It's actually a fundraising group, and they do a big kind of lifetime achievement party every year. And they wanted to go in a different direction from who they had. Somebody had heard about my name from something, and now I'm like, every year I'm doing their event on a Friday evening, which makes it awesome because I'm not typically doing a wedding that type of a night. And it allows me just to kind of be there. And there are, like when Zach has mentioned, there's high profile people, like there's names, and I just sit there going, okay, I'm in the same crowd with these people, and they make more in a second than I make in 5 years. All right, got it. Something like that. But no, in all seriousness, like that, but making sure that you're always carrying yourself with that right type of class is what's going to help. And I want to attribute this to Jim Cerrone, and if I'm wrong, Jim, I apologize. But I remember one time hearing this about him, that he always dresses professionally. Maybe not always in a suit, but definitely almost always in a button-up shirt, so that even if somebody sees him at a grocery store, their impression of him is this clean-cut looking, person, so that it's not like we've seen some of the jokes that go around. I know I've seen like the memes on Facebook where it's like, I think it's Ben Affleck who's like in one he's all cleaned up and everything else. It's like DJs on the weekend, and then it's like DJs through the week, and it's another picture of Ben Affleck like scruffy and like bummed out, and everything else. So you don't want to necessarily be that way, because somebody is potentially always watching. Not saying that you have to shirt and tie to go to the grocery store, but be aware of the way you're looking as I'm wearing a t-shirt. But hey, it's black, which is like DJ's color.
I'm red, so
yeah, well, you're different, so it's okay. So all right, we are almost at the end of the time, and I cannot believe that it happened just this fast. Like tonight just went fast. Maybe you guys didn't think so, but I did. So one key that one takeaway. No, let me back up, because this is a question I wrote down and I skipped over it by accident. Cubbie, this one's directed at you, sir. So this is related to specifically the bar trivia, right? Mm-hmm. So if somebody wanted to go into bar trivia, right? Where would you ask them to go, or where would you point them at to learn that skill?
So we have a great sponsor here at Disc Jockey News. DJ Trivia is amazing. And those guys, they are a franchise. So if your market is available, they can sell you a franchise. I would start with there. They're a great sponsor and they support a lot of DJs who support all the shows. I definitely reach out to them. They also have DJ Bingo. It's a great program. It's so easy on the fly. They make it so simple for you. I'm just not familiar with because somebody already has a franchise in my market who is doing exceptionally well with the franchise. So I don't know what their policies are, but as a advertiser of Disc Jockey News, that would literally they are the best resource that you can reach out there to. If your market is already purchased by somebody, then there are other resources. I'd go out to bars. And like I said, Disc Jockey, DJ Trivia, because they're such a nationally franchise and they're in major metropolitan cities like Minneapolis and Chicago to Illinois, people have different franchises. Other bars are calling them because they're seeing their marketing. So they may have like a city open for you and some bars ready for you to take over because of their reach is nationwide. So like I said, they're great. If not, and you're going to do more of a DIY thing, I would start at different sports bars, talk to them. Hey, look, what are you doing for midweek money? We've got musical bingo. We've got, and there's all sorts of Facebook groups out there. Keith Allen is amazing. He's very helpful with all sorts of different things that he does. Anybody can reach out to me and how to get started and the format that I do. It's a little bit different, a little bit pop culture-ish. And then, like I said, but the very first and foremost, I'd reach out to DJ Trivia. They're amazing.
Awesome.
Sorry for the plug. I didn't mean to plug one of our people.
I'm glad you did because I forgot to mention our sponsors tonight, and so I'm glad you've thrown that one in. And we'll mention our other one here at the end, just as well. But so that's definitely something that you want to do, because especially if you're getting into it, right? If you've not done this before, at least do yourself a favor and find a program. Hopefully DJ Trivia, and if it's for some reason not available in your area, look for some of those other ones that might be out there to help you get started. Because
I'll help.
The last thing you want to do is try and find your personality of a bar host and figure out all these trivia pieces and like break into some bars, like your head's going to be spinning. It really is. So looking for those kind of pieces can definitely help you out with that. By the way, so in the chat, Zach, there was a question from Mikey Mike. He wanted to know, have you ever played in the Wyoming Valley?
I have not.
There you go, Mikey Mike. So it was a quick question. That was kind of easy. Derek, or not Derek, DJ Eric. That's funny. That is really funny. I'm definitely not loaded. That is far from the case. So if you saw the rest of this house, like you'd be like, but I just make this space look pretty because I can. All right. So anyway, on that note, I do want to, we did kind of mention one of our sponsors here at DJNTV, but we've got to give some love to DJ Event Planner. Like these guys, Cubbie and I cannot speak enough about them. They are great. They do fantastic work for us. Troy and his entire crew is just fantastic at setting you up and putting you in that right direction. And the fact that, like some people say, like you get into it and it can be overwhelming. Yes, but part of the reason why it's overwhelming is because it's so powerful. So keep in mind that sometimes it's baby steps to get it to what you want it to be. But once you can, that thing is gold. And there's a lot of DJs across the world that use it and can speak volumes to it. So definitely highly recommend checking out djeventplanner.com. Before we end tonight, anything that you gentlemen want to add? Anything that you thinking of that I completely just skipped over? Last minute golds of wisdom.
If you're thinking about doing it, it's a great way to go full time. The midweek money, like I said, if you are looking for something to do that you like, you're like on that cusp of, do I go full time? Do I not go full time? Pick up 1 or 2 nights a week. Definitely helps you during the off seasons. And it's a great way to just, it's a breeding ground for events. I'm telling you right now, it is a breeding ground. Once you start doing weekly trivia, your corporate events and weddings will literally like come from it. I kid you not.
Real quick here before we go over to Zach, one thing that I got thinking of that could help for some of you that maybe want to break into this. If trivia is being offered, trivia or music bingo, whatever is being offered in your market, and there's somebody that you locally network with, like for example, Zach and I we're like 3 miles from each other south, if that. You know, if they already have something established, they might be willing to subcontract you or pull you under their umbrella for their DJ trivia, and because that now gives them another bar that they can be in, right? And you work out some deal so that it's done. The nice thing is also the logistics of what do I charge? You know, how do I set the contract up? What does all that look like? That's already taken care of because the person you're networking with has that in place. Really should. So it can be something that you can kind of help yourself, you know, establish that. It does potentially make it tricky. Obviously, you still have your business and you're under somebody else's umbrella, but it could be a good starting spot and a win-win because they get another place and you get some weekday money. So, Zach, any last pearls of wisdom?
I mean, speaking of what Cubbie was talking about, you know, if you want to do it full time, especially for the bar scene, I mean, keep your horizons open. There's a lot of different stuff you can do. You don't just got to play music. You can do the trivia, the bingo, the karaoke. The list goes on and on. There's all kinds of stuff you can try. So if you wanted to do it full time, just don't keep it stuck on just, you know, DJing like music. Keep it on like, okay, I can do music Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Monday, I'm doing bingo. Tuesday, I'm doing karaoke. Wednesday, I'm doing trivia. So just keep that in mind too. That there's a lot of aspects to this business, right? So there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of stuff that you got to figure out before you take that route. But once you got it, you know, you can branch out, and like you said, you can, you know, go to other people who are already in your market and doing it, whether it's, you know, for their business or, you know, if they're like, you know, just ask for advice. I ask you for advice all the time.
I know. And half the time I have to block his calls. It's
true. It's true.
But okay, on that note, coming up next, don't forget, Hanging with Howie is going to be coming up, DJNTV.com/chill. Robin dropped the chat or the link in the chat a little bit ago. So make sure you are joining them. Remember, like the first 20 minutes, like you go in, you're just hanging out, cameras off, like listening to what the guys are talking about. And then when it's all said and done, cameras on, everybody's hanging out. Again, it's like after session hallway talk, right? You might talk about what we did tonight. You might have a discussion of what Howie and the entire crew is talking about, or it might be something completely different. But whatever's the case, it's a great time. And the chill room is open pretty much 24/7, if I'm not mistaken. So you need a chance to just kind of chill and debrief with people who get you, right? Those other DJs who get you. You can have that talk. You can have those moments. So again, DJNTV.com/chill is the place that you want to go. Robin just dropped that there in the chat again. So thank you very much. On behalf of Cubbie, DJ Wild, and myself, thank you very much for being a part of our night. We will see you next time. Have a good one, everybody.